Stories found between midnight and morning. Archive 008. I only see it when I wake up. Status: ongoing. Recovered: 3:42 a.m. Source: personal audio logs, written notes. Location: private residence in Utah, undisclosed. I moved in during late autumn. The house was small, older, maintained just enough to be considered livable. But it was cheap. It was worn in the way places get when they've been lived in for a long time. 2 floors, a narrow staircase along the right wall of the living room. Low ceiling near the base of the stairs, with a wall angled inward. I noticed that part right away. Not because it was wrong, just because it felt different. The wall beneath the stairs didn't feel like the others. It looked like it had a door there at one time, but was removed. There weren't any visible seams, no patches, no signs of recent work. If anything had been done there, it wasn't obvious. Still, it stood out. I moved in alone. First night was quiet. No strange sounds, no issues with the power, nothing out of place. I slept fine. No dreams that I could remember. Nothing that stuck with me. The first time it happened was the next morning. I woke up naturally. No alarm, no noise. Just opened my eyes, suddenly awake. When your mind is suddenly alert, it was like that. I was just lying there, looking around the bedroom, letting my eyes adjust. And then I noticed it. There was someone standing in the corner. I didn't react, not right away, because it didn't feel wrong. That's the part I keep coming back to. It should have scared me. It should have made me sit up or panic, or at least question what I was seeing. But it didn't. It just felt almost normal, like it had always been there, like waking up included seeing it. It was tall, human-shaped, standing still, arms at its sides, and I couldn't make out a face. There weren't any details, just a dark shape, darker than the room around it. It didn't move, didn't make a sound, didn't react to me at all. So I just watched it, trying to understand what I was looking at, trying to figure out if I was still dreaming. After a few seconds, I closed my eyes. Not because I was scared, just to reset, to make sure. I counted. 1, 2, 3. Then I opened them again. The corner was empty. I didn't get up right away. I just laid there for a minute, staring at the same spot. There was nothing there. No shadow, no movement, nothing at all. I told myself it was just one of those things, a dream that didn't fully fade when I woke up. It happens sometimes. Your brain holds on to an image for a few seconds, then it's gone. That's what I thought this was. So I got up, went about my morning, didn't think about it again. The house felt normal, quiet, the way it had the night before. Nothing else happened that day. No sounds, no flickering lights, no feeling like I was being watched. That night, I slept fine. No dreams, no interruptions. And the next morning, I opened my eyes, looked into the corner, and it was there again. The second time, I didn't close my eyes right away. I just lay there, staring at it. Same corner, same shape, same stillness. It looked exactly the way it had the morning before, like nothing had changed, like it had been standing there the entire night, just waiting for me to wake up and notice it again. I told myself not to react. Not yet. I wanted to understand what I was seeing before I did anything else. So I stayed still, kept my breathing even, watched it the way you watch something you're not sure is real. It didn't move, not even slightly. No shift in posture, no adjustment. Nothing that would suggest it was anything more than something my brain was putting there. But it didn't feel like that. That's what bothered me. It didn't feel like a dream. It felt like I was looking at something that existed in the room, whether I understood it or not. I blinked slowly. It was still there. I blinked again. Still there. That's when I noticed something. The moment I started to sit up, just barely, just enough to change my angle, it was gone. Not fading, not stepping away, just gone, like it had never been there at all. I sat there for a minute, trying to replay it in my head, trying to figure out what I had just seen. Then I got up, walked over to the corner, and stood in the exact spot where it had been. There was nothing there. No marks on the wall. No shadows that didn't make sense. Nothing that could explain what I'd seen. Just an empty corner. That should have been enough to convince me it wasn't real. But it wasn't. Because I knew what I saw. Or at least, I knew what it looked like. That morning, I started paying attention. Not just to the room, but to how I was waking up. The next day, I tried something different. Instead of opening my eyes slowly, I forced them open all at once. The room snapped into focus. And it was there again. Same place, same shape. I didn't move, didn't even blink. I just stared at it, trying to catch something, anything, that would prove it wasn't real. It didn't react, didn't shift, didn't acknowledge me at all. It just stood there, like it was part of the room, like it belonged there more than I did. I counted in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4. At 5, I sat up, and it was gone. That became the pattern. Every morning, the same thing. I wake up. It's already there. If I stay still, I can see it for a few seconds. If I move, as if when it thinks I am fully awake, it disappears. Not gradually, not like something leaving, just gone. I started testing it, opening my eyes faster, slower, keeping them closed for a few extra seconds before looking. Didn't matter. If I woke up and looked toward that corner, it was there. Always in the same place, always the same shape, and always gone the moment I started moving. That's when I stopped thinking of it as a dream, because dreams don't follow rules like that. Dreams don't stay consistent. They don't repeat the same way over and over without changing. But this did. Every time, exactly the same. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't see the point. I didn't even know how I'd explain it without sounding like I was imagining things. So I kept it to myself. And I kept watching. Because by that point, I was sure of one thing. Whatever I was seeing, it wasn't random. By the fourth morning, I stopped questioning whether it would be there. I started expecting it. I'd wake up, still half under the blankets, and before I even moved, I'd already be looking toward the same corner of the bedroom. Because that's where it was. Always in the same place. That same corner. I don't remember when I stopped closing my door at night. At some point, I just left everything the same, exactly how it had been when I first saw it. Like changing anything might change it. So I didn't. I kept the room the same. The bed in the same position, the same angle, the same line of sight to that corner. Because I wanted to be sure. I wanted to know if it would still be there. It always was. It never appeared anywhere else. Never closer than that corner. Never farther. Just there. I started watching it longer, keeping my body still, not sitting up right away. Just lying there, eyes open, trying to stay in that half-awake state as long as I could. At first, nothing changed. Same posture, same stillness, same empty shape. Then, one morning, something was different. It wasn't where it usually stood. Not exactly. The corner hadn't changed. The walls hadn't changed. But it wasn't aligned the same way, like it had shifted slightly, just enough that I noticed. I remember thinking, that's not right. I didn't move, didn't blink. I just stared at it, trying to understand what I was seeing, trying to decide if I had remembered it wrong. Then I sat up, and it was gone. That stayed with me all day. Not the fact that it appeared again. That part was already becoming normal. It was the difference. The way it didn't match what I expected. The next morning, I paid closer attention. I woke up slowly, kept my eyes on that corner. And there it was again. But this time, it felt different. Before, it had always seemed like it was just standing there, not facing anything, not directed, just present. Now, it felt like it was turned slightly, like it was angled toward the door. I didn't like that. I stayed still, watched it, waited to see if it would do anything. It didn't move, didn't react, didn't acknowledge me. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. Not in the room, not in the house, in it. I started noticing smaller things after that. Things I couldn't prove, things I couldn't measure. The way it seemed slightly shorter some mornings, or closer to the wall, or not quite in the same place I remembered. Every time I told myself the same thing, that I was misremembering, that my brain was filling in details that weren't there. But the more I watched it, the harder that was to believe. Because it wasn't just different. It felt deliberate. Like it wasn't changing randomly. Like it was adjusting. And I started to wonder, I don't think it appears when I wake up. I think I stop seeing it when it notices me. After a few weeks, I stopped thinking of it as something that only happened in the mornings, because by then, it didn't feel contained anymore. It was still the same when I woke up, still in the corner, still gone the moment I moved. But the house started to feel different the rest of the time. Not obvious, nothing I could point to and say, that's wrong. Just small things, subtle things. The kind you notice and then immediately try to ignore. The wall under the stairs was the first. I don't know why it stood out more after a while, but it did. I started seeing it differently. Not just as a strange angle in the room, but like something had been changed there, covered. The shape wasn't right for a normal wall. The outline, if you really looked at it, felt like it used to be something else. Like a doorway that had been closed off, sealed, painted over, forgotten. Once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. I'd stand there sometimes, just looking at it, tracing where a frame might have been, where hinges could have sat, telling myself I was imagining it, that old houses have weird layouts, that not everything has a reason. But it didn't feel like that. It felt intentional, like something had been hidden. Around the same time, the lights started acting up. Nothing dramatic, no outages, no sparks, just flickers, brief, inconsistent. Sometimes in the living room, sometimes in the hallway, once or twice in the bedroom. Always short enough that I could pretend it was nothing, a wiring issue, old house, normal. I didn't call anyone. I didn't want someone else in the house. I didn't want to explain anything, so I let it go. At night, it was worse. That's when the sounds started. At first, I thought it was the house settling. Old wood, pipes, temperature changes. That's what everyone says. But these weren't random. They had a pattern. Soft knocks. Not loud, not aggressive. Just there. Like something tapping from the other side of a wall. Then scratching. Slow, uneven. Like something dragging across wood. I'd lie in bed, completely still, listening, trying to figure out where it was coming from. Every time, it sounded like it was coming from downstairs, from the living room, from that wall. I never went to check, not at night. I told myself I would in the morning. I never did. Because by morning, something else had changed. The first time it happened, I almost didn't understand what I was seeing. I woke up, looked toward the corner, and it wasn't there. For a second, I thought it was over, that whatever had been happening was just gone. Then I noticed the doorway. It was standing there, in the bedroom doorway, not in the corner, not across the room, closer, blocking the only way out. I didn't move, didn't breathe, just stared at it, trying to understand what had changed. It hadn't walked there. I didn't see it move. It was just different, like it had always been standing there instead. I stayed completely still, watching it, waiting, the same way I always had. And just like before, the moment I moved, it was gone. That should have been the point where I stopped ignoring it. But I didn't. I told myself it was the same thing, the same pattern, just closer. It stayed like that for days, maybe a week, always in the doorway, always gone the moment I moved. And then, it changed again. After a few more weeks, it wasn't in the room at all. I'd wake up, look around, nothing. No figure, no shadow, nothing in the corner, nothing in the doorway. For a few seconds, I thought it had stopped. Then I got out of bed, walked to the door, and looked down the stairs. That's when I saw it, at the bottom, standing in the living room, in front of that wall. It didn't disappear right away, not like before. It stayed there, long enough for me to see it clearly, long enough for me to know exactly where it was. And then, it didn't vanish all at once. It faded, slowly,
like it was being pulled away from the room, or like I was losing the ability to see it. I don't know which. That became the new pattern. Every morning, wake up, nothing in the bedroom, walk to the stairs, look down, and there it was, at the bottom, in the same place, in front of that wall. And every time, it would fade, slowly, until it was gone. That went on for weeks, long enough that I stopped being surprised by it, long enough that it felt expected. And somewhere in the middle of that, I made a decision. If it wasn't going to appear in the bedroom anymore, then I would stop sleeping there. I moved to the couch in the living room. I told myself it was temporary, just to see what would happen, just to understand it. But that wasn't the real reason. The real reason was simpler than that. I didn't want to wake up upstairs anymore. I wanted to wake up closer to it.
The first night on the couch, I didn't sleep much. Not because I was uncomfortable, because I was waiting. The living room felt different at night. Quieter, but not empty. Like the silence had weight to it. Like something was still there, even when I couldn't see it. I kept the lights off, left everything the way it had been. The wall under the stairs directly in front of me. That same place it had been standing, night after night, morning after morning. I lay there staring at it for a long time before I finally fell asleep. I don't remember dreaming. I don't remember anything at all. Just waking up and opening my eyes. It was there. Not at the bottom of the stairs, not in the corner. Closer, standing by the wall, right where the door was. I didn't move, didn't even breathe at first, just stared at it, trying to understand how it had gotten there, trying to understand what had changed. It looked the same height, same shape, same absence of detail, but being closer made it different, more defined, not clearer, just more real. I could see where its outline broke the little light from the kitchen, where it blocked what little ambient light was coming through the windows, like it had weight, like it actually existed in the same space I did. I stayed still, waiting for it to disappear. That's what always happened. That was the pattern. But it didn't. It stayed there. Seconds passed, longer than it ever had before. I kept my eyes locked on it, waiting for the moment it would be gone. It didn't come. That's when I realized something was wrong. Not just different, wrong. Because I was awake, fully awake. There was no haze, no delay, no in-between state. I could feel the couch under me, the air in the room, the sound of my own breathing, and it was still there. I pushed myself up slowly, carefully, like moving too fast might change something. Like it might react. It didn't. It just stood there, in the same place, by the wall. For a second I thought, this is it. This is where something happens. But nothing did. No movement, no sound, no reaction at all. I took another breath, and then, without warning, it was gone. Not fading, not stepping back, just gone. Like it had been before, like nothing had changed. Except it had. Because it hadn't disappeared when I moved. It hadn't disappeared when I woke up. It stayed until it decided not to. I sat there for a long time after that, staring at the same spot, trying to convince myself I had imagined it, that I had misjudged how awake I was, that it was still part of whatever had been happening before. But I knew that wasn't true. Something had shifted. The rules weren't the same anymore. It wasn't waiting for me to wake up. It wasn't disappearing the moment I moved. And it was staying longer. I looked at the wall under the stairs, the place where it had been standing, the place it kept returning to. And for the first time, I didn't think it was just showing me something. I thought it was trying to get me there. The outlet stopped working 3 days later. It was the one on the wall under the stairs, to the left of where I thought the door had been. I didn't notice it right away. I wasn't using it for anything. But that morning, when I walked past it, I heard something. A sharp crack. Quick, like a small spark. I stopped, looked down at it. There was a faint burn mark around the top socket. New. I was sure of that. I knelt down, reached toward it, and pulled my hand back before I touched it. I don't know why. I just didn't want to. I went to the breaker panel instead. Checked everything. Nothing was tripped. Everything looked normal. I plugged the vacuum into it, but the outlet was dead. No power, no sound, nothing. I stood there for a long time looking at it. Then I did what I should have done earlier. I called someone. The electrician came that afternoon, middle-aged, quiet, didn't ask many questions. I told him the outlet had sparked, stopped working. That was it. He nodded, set his tools down, and got to work. Removed the faceplate first, then the screws, pulled the outlet forward from the wall. He frowned, not at the wiring, at the space behind it. He leaned in closer, shined a light inside. Didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then he stepped back, looked at the wall, knocked on it once, twice. The sound was wrong. Hollow. Not like the rest of the wall. He asked if there had been any work done there. I told him no, not that I knew of. He didn't respond, just kept looking at it. Then he said he was going to open it up. I didn't argue. He cut into the drywall carefully, just enough to widen the space around the outlet. The first piece came away clean. Dust fell onto the floor. He reached in again, pulled more of it loose, made the opening bigger, enough to see inside. That's when he stopped, completely still. Light still pointed into the wall, but he didn't move it, didn't step closer, didn't step back, just stood there. I asked him what it was. He didn't answer right away. Then he shifted slightly, moved just enough for me to see past him, into the space behind the wall. It wasn't wiring. It wasn't insulation. It was empty. A cavity, deeper than it should have been. And inside, there was something there. Not placed neatly, not arranged, just there. Curled slightly, pressed into the space. The shape was wrong at first, hard to understand, until my eyes adjusted. until I saw what I was actually looking at. It was a body. A woman. What was left of one. Clothing still visible in places. Hair matted against the surface behind her. No movement. No sound. Just stillness. The electrician stepped back, finally. Set his tools down without looking away. Told me to call the police. I didn't move right away. I just stood there, looking at the space, at the shape inside it, trying to connect it to everything I had been seeing, trying to understand how long it had been there, how no one had known. Then I looked at the edges of the opening, at the framing, at the way the wall had been sealed. And I understood something. There had been a door there, once, long enough ago that it had been removed, closed off, covered completely. The space behind it, hidden. And whatever had been inside it, left there, undisturbed, until now. They took the body that night. Police first, then investigators, then people asking questions I didn't have answers to. They moved through the house like it didn't belong to me, like it had already become something else. A scene, evidence, a place where something had happened a long time ago and was only just being noticed. I stayed in the kitchen while they worked, didn't go near the wall, didn't look at it again. I didn't need to. I already knew what was there, or what had been there. They asked me if I'd seen anything unusual. I told them about the outlet, the spark, the sound, nothing else. They nodded, wrote it down, moved on. I don't know if they believed me. I don't know if it mattered. By the time they left, the opening in the wall was covered again. Not repaired, just sealed off. Temporary. Like they didn't want to look at it any more than I did. The house was quiet after that. Quieter than it had ever been. No flickering lights, no sounds at night, no knocking, no scratching, nothing. I slept upstairs again, in the bedroom. The first night felt normal. For the first time since I moved in, normal. I woke up the next morning, opened my eyes, looked at the corner. There was nothing there. I stayed still for a few seconds, just to be sure. Then I sat up, got out of bed, walked into the hallway. Everything felt lighter, like something had been taken out of the house, something that didn't belong there anymore. I went downstairs, stopped at the bottom of the stairs, looked toward the wall. They had covered the opening with a temporary board. Clean edges, nothing visible behind it. No sign of what had been there. Just a surface. Flat. Closed. I stood there for a while, waiting, without really knowing what I was waiting for. Nothing happened. I told myself that was it. That whatever I had been seeing, whatever had been there, was gone. It had been found. I called the landlord. He said he would fix the wall as soon as the police are finished. And now it was over. That night I slept without thinking about it. No hesitation. No waiting. No watching the corners. Just sleep. Deep. Uninterrupted. until I woke up. Sometime before morning. No alarm, no sound, just awake. I didn't move right away, didn't open my eyes. I don't know why. Something about it felt familiar, like I already knew what I would see. I opened them slowly, looked toward the corner of the room. It wasn't there. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding, closed my eyes again for a second, then opened them. The room was the same, empty, quiet. I sat up, turned toward the doorway. That's when I saw it. Not in the corner, not by the wall, standing in the hallway, just outside the bedroom. And this time, it wasn't facing away. It was looking directly at me. Then, it faded away. It was the last time I saw her. She is just not here anymore. End of record. Status: investigation. Ongoing, unresolved. Archive.